Seeing as there's no late items to add,
Can I
I
add
would
one
like to
to,
request a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
can I add one item to the in-camera? It's just to do with New North.
For sure. Definitely. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, or the addition of an in-camera item.
Also move.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say nay. Okay, moving on to the third item, which is the adoption of minutes. We're looking at the minutes from September 27th, 2022. Hopefully everyone had the opportunity to review these. I am looking for a motion to approve those minutes, but before that, is there any business arising from the minutes that need to be added or amended? Okay, so looking for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I so move.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing as there is no discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say nay. And it doesn't seem to be anyone opposed. Item number 4 is the declaration of the election results as presented. And with this item here, are there any questions? Looking for a motion to accept the declaration of election results.
I'll accept.
You'll accept? Okay, do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any discussion or further questions or clarifications required? Okay, all in favor to accept this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Okay, motion is carried. Item number 5, and we will do items 5.1 and 5.2 together as part of this section. We are looking at swearing in the mayor. Based on the election results, Joe Hordisky will be taking on the role of mayor from today forth. Councilor Hordisky, are you ready to take your mayoral oath?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Do you accept the election results as presented?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So Lyle, do we have a motion here, or what do we do with this?
No, it's just gonna
Read it out.
read it out loud, and then he'll place his signature, and we'll sign off as the witness there.
Okay. So in terms of the mayoral oath, Joe, can you read the item in front of you that's the PDF and the all net?
Yes, I've got the verbiage
The
here.
oath or affirmation,
Yes, I do.
where you solemnly promise and declare items 1 through 5?
I'd be prepared to read it if you want me to. I, Joe Hordisky, have been elected to the office of mayor in the northern town of Orange. Do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially, to the best of my ability, perform the duties of this office. I am qualified to hold the office to which I have been elected. I have not received or will not receive any payment or reward, or promise of payment or reward, for the exercise of any corrupt practice or other undue execution in the influence of this office. I have read, understand, and agree to abide by the Code of Ethics, Rule of Conduct, and procedures applicable to my position as member of council required to me by the Northern Municipalities Act 2010 and any other act and by the council. I will perform the duties of the office imposed by the Northern Municipalities Act 2010 and any other act or law and by the council. Disclose any conflict of interest within the meaning of Part 7 of the Northern Municipalities Act 2010 and comply with the Code of Ethics, Rules of Conduct, and procedures applicable to the office I now hold that will be imposed by the Northern Municipalities Act 2010 and any other act and by the council.
Okay, and if you could also sign that declaration. And along with that declaration, we have a public disclosure statement that is to be received and filed along with the declaration. Okay,
Okay, thank
can
you.
we have a motion to accept, Mayor Hordisky as the mayor of Orange for the remaining council term?
I so move.
Okay, and do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussions on that item? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Please say nay. Okay, so at this point in time, I would like to virtually and symbolically pass the gavel to Mayor Hordisky. And Mayor Hordisky, could I ask you to preside over the remainder of the meeting as I am away at Lord Tenwell this evening? Okay,
This is our virtual
awesome.
change of the gavel.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so good luck with the meeting, everyone, and I'll see you guys at our next meeting. Have a great evening.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Vivian.
Okay.
So just, we'll need 5-2, Your Worship.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is 6.1, the correspondence, the Multicultural Council of Saskatchewan request.
We'll just need a motion on the acceptance of the public disclosure statement.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, now we'll move to 6.1, Multicultural Council of Saskatchewan request. Any discussion on that?
I'll move that council proclaims the week of November 19th to 27th, 2022 as Saskatchewan Multicultural Week.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconder is Councillor Vedere. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion is carried. Okay, we'll move to Regional Committee as a whole, bylaws. And bylaw 671/22, first reading. And that's the administrative bylaw.
I'll make a motion that council give the first reading.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Move the council give a second reading.
I'll second that.
Oh, sorry. Okay, now I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay,
Aye.
motion carried. Okay.
I'll move that council give unanimous consent for the consideration of all three readings of the administrative bylaw 671/22 in the same meeting.
Second.
Point of interest before we go to the vote on that. With Viviana not being in attendance, are we able to give unanimous consent?
Yes, you are.
It's unanimous consent of all present members.
That's correct.
Okay, no, I just want to double check.
Okay. So that's the second reading then? So we have a vote on the second reading?
No, I moved that council give unanimous consent for consideration of all three.
And you got a seconder?
I'll second.
I seconded
You
it.
seconded?
Matt seconded.
Sorry,
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's unanimous. All indicated. Okay, so second reading?
Third.
I'll move that council give third reading to administrative bylaw 671/22.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, motion's carried.
And I'll move that the council rescind the CAO single employee policy.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, we move to 8.2, the zoning amendment, and that is not the same as what we were given in the email or on our agenda, so we'll get Jeff to run through it, what the change was.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just distributed a second version of bylaw 672/22 for your consideration. The first version that's included on the council meeting agenda has the effect of including a new use, namely tow truck dispatch and towing yard in the zoning bylaw, and also including it in the M1 light industrial district. Staff, after further consideration, brought forward an amended bylaw that would also have the effect of including tow truck dispatch and towing yard in the M2 general industrial district as well.
I think that only makes sense as it's happening in a couple places there already, so.
And I noticed that should be M2 in section 3 of that bylaw. I've labeled it M1, but that should be M2.
Thanks
My
for your work.
haste.
I'll make a motion that we amend bylaws, or to have the first reading of bylaw 672/22,
Wait,
672/22,
Yeah, as amended.
Well,
as amended.
Yeah,
Oh.
thank you.
I'll
Does it
second.
have to be amended, or
Yeah.
because
Yes.
it's still received for?
No, because we have M2.
It's still gonna come back for a second reading anyway, and at which
No,
point
I'm just wondering
the
if
title
we
can be corrected.
Having
but
dealt with the first reading, whether we in fact.
You can do either or. You could give first reading and then just give us direction to make that change, and that would be fine as well.
I'll second your motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to financial reports. Any questions in the financial statement?
I did have one while on page 17. I think it was
Which document?
on the accounts for approval, number 19604 for $3,400.
Page what?
It's on page 17, very top line.
Funny Business Inc.
Was that something we've booked for this year?
Correct. It's entertainment for the
Christmas.
Christmas party. And it's there was some funds left over from prior years. Employees had been kicking into a social fund, so there was some extra funds to spend this year, and that was the wellness committee's decided to
That's coming from
go
that.
with that. Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
good for them.
Any other questions? So no highlights from the CFO in terms of,
CFO's away on vacation, so hopefully, if I can't answer it, I'll get you a response next week after he gets back end of the week.
I'll move to approve financial reports.
I'll second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, 9.2, property acquisition, lot 37, block 21. Request for decision.
I'll move that tax service on behalf of the town of Orange be authorized to proceed under the Tax Enforcement Act to acquire title for lot 37, block 21, plan 79 PA 25319, extension 0, commonly known as 1144 Dalby.
I'll second.
Okay, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. 9.3, list the information on the building development permit report.
I'll move that the building report of September 2022 be accepted as presented and attached to form part of these minutes.
Seconder,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, and, request for decision on NHR
I'll make a motion that council proceed with option A and approve the issuance of a discretionary use permit for the home-based business MHR Videos production on the property legally described as Lot 34 of Block 39 Plan Number 80PA19051.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, request for decision on DHL Nails and Spa.
I'll make a motion that council proceed with option A, approve issuance of a discretionary use permit for DHL Nails and Spa as part of the mixed-use development on the properties legally described as lots 4, 5, and 6, Block 12, Plan Number CN 1121, with issuance of this permit subject to the applicant entering into a parking agreement with the town to maintain 6 parking spaces on Lot 6 in relation to the mixed-use development on all 3 lots.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councillor Lawson. Any questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Temporary use of regulations for request for decision Wyndham Cooper's daycare, day home.
Minutes
9.6, Your Worship.
We're
Yes, so
9-6.
temporary use permit,
I'll move that council approve issuance of a temporary use permit.
Yes, sir.
to allow a shipping container?
Block H, Plan 76PA 20360.
Okay,
I'll second.
any
I thought we-
discussion?
Just a quick question. Matt, do you remember us in the previous term discussing this? Like it's a CCAN, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we had discussed this, that in any construction anywhere in town, that it was just allowed as long as construction.
No,
and
you have to-
development-
You have to apply for a temporary use
Okay.
permit. Yep.
No, my mistake. Right?
Yeah, it's got I think it has to expire for 7 days before it can be reapplied,
Yep.
according to our rules now.
I think one of the things we'd like to look at down the road is maybe allowing shipping containers to be utilized in the community services zone as an outright permitted use, accessory use,
Mm-hmm.
because they're constantly using them for different purposes on those properties, and we could require that they be, like these folks are putting it in a pretty strategic location, keep it out of sight, and they're painting it the same color as the building. Obviously, it's the school division, so they work together with on those sorts of things, but
Yeah.
that might be something we want to look at down the road.
Allowing it as of right, but a way to do it administratively without having to come to council, but be able to permit them, because I could see depending on which, because you'll need them in other districts as well, and whether they remain a temporary use in those districts or not, it would almost be nice just to have.
I don't like it as a permitted use.
Well, and that's the thing, is to have it as an administrative function would be good, to be able to get a permit within a few days that you
Yeah.
wanna bring one in, but to have it controlled to the point and regulated that it's not gonna be
Council.
an issue and.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure it's not required under the NMA to bring that to us, right?
Pardon me, sorry?
Is it required under the NMA to bring it to council?
Because it's at council's
Well,
discretion.
it's-
It's a discretionary use.
Yeah,
So unless we can we delegate that legally down, or does it have to be done by council?
if it was a permitted use, it wouldn't come to council. They could issue, the administration could issue a
But I'm
permit.
only suggesting that for the community services zone district,
Yeah.
not for the town at large. It
Mm.
would just be largely for those zoning categories where we find major institutional uses like our school district and whatnot, where they use these on a pretty regular basis. I know for a fact that the school district will be coming back to us seeking longer term approval of this particular shipping container, and that's where the discussion came up. But I thought I would just throw it out there as an idea, see what kind of feedback I got in terms of my thinking about what I bring forward to you in the future.
I kind of.
I don't think we need to lose control of, having containers, we open it up, you're gonna have containers going all over the place this way. I like the way it's being controlled, and, Councilor Beverly?
Yeah, I'd like to see it streamlined a little bit better, maybe having the acting CAO, the deputy CAO or the CAO have more control of it, cause I would hate to see it get out of hand where people start stacking them and keeping their long-term use, cause then you can start building houses and stuff out of them too, which would be the
Awesome.
next thing, right?
He's saying just in community services.
Before you council, we put anything in front of council for consideration, we will do our homework, but at this point, we're not there, so.
Okay, thanks.
So there's a mover and a seconder already, right?
Yeah, I
Correct.
Question.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, move on to Lyndon Cooper's day home.
I make a motion that council proceed with option A, direct administration to initiate the process for consideration of a discretionary use permit for a home-based business known Lyndon Cooper's Day Home on Lot 4, Block 25, Plan 76PA 24039.
I'll second that.
Seconder, Council Crossman. Any discussion? I think it's nice to see an additional home open up for all the need we have in the community, so,
Daycare, yeah.
for sure. Okay, I'll call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Home-based business regulations. That's just for information, I guess. Oh, the last item?
Yeah, that was just an attachment for information.
Any comments on regulations?
No, I looked through them and I think it's great. Actually, I appreciate the attachment.
Yeah, very good, thank you. Okay, grader purchase. Yes, we've,
I'll make the motion that council proceed with option A and award purchase of a grader with extended warranty from Finning Canada in the amount of $490,051.70 plus GST.
okay, seconder to that,
I'll second.
Question.
any discussion?
The extended warranty that's being asked for here, is that something that can be purchased anytime before the original warranty expires? Is typically how that works? I would almost suggest not to go ahead with that portion right away unless we're having trouble with the unit. Could save $14,000 almost.
Yeah, your worship, to the councilor's question, I wasn't privy to the discussions between the mechanic and the staff that had been involved with the tendering. The only issue would be then if we defer this and then it's needed at a future item, it would be unbudgeted. So that would be the only concern, whereas the funds are in this year's capital plan, but I certainly understand if that's the preference of council.
I didn't see a delivery time. Was there any difference between the different prices we got?
Just double checking here to see if there was a delivery time. I don't see one here. I'll follow up with council by emails.
Yeah.
An idea of when expected.
It seems to be, no matter where you go, I think it's gonna be a wait.
Yeah, I'm
That's-
down a lot of staff today, so sorry, I'll have to get back to you on that one a little bit later.
And then what's happening with the old grader? Is it being sold or traded or kept for a spare, or what's the?
We would have to bring back something on that front and see what our options are. It wasn't a trade, like a provision of the sales agreement, that I can say for sure. Usually the intent is to have a backup, but if there was a thought of disposing the asset, then we can come back. And we'd have to go through a formal process.
Okay. Discretionary use, mixed use development.
I think you'll have to approve that one first.
You need to call a question on it, Joe.
Don't need to vote.
Okay. Could we have a motion and seconder for the grader? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. An application for discretionary use on Orange Avenue. Any further information other than?
Thank you, Your Worship. The only thing that staff noted in the report is related to parking requirements. Obviously, this building has quite a few uses involved and has very limited parking at the rear of the building. You may squeeze 2 parking spaces out of the rear, so the rest of the parking is being accommodated either on street or, as the applicant even indicated to me directly, that they're utilizing the clinic and pharmacy parking on the other side of the street. And so staff have just noted there's really 4 options for dealing with parking in this situation. I haven't received information from the applicant that shows me the floor plans and what the actual parking would be based on a calculation in the context of our zoning bylaw, but there are really 4 options for dealing with this. The applicant could make an arrangement to purchase other property in the vicinity that would dedicate parking on either all or a portion of that property for use associated with this property. They could also approach another property owner like the pharmacy/clinic and maybe make an arrangement with them. Alternatively, they could pay cash in lieu of parking. And option 4 is basically indicating that we do nothing in relation to this application, given there's no net increase in parking required. And the reason that is they're converting existing office space into one dwelling, and technically you would require 1.5 spaces for the office and only 1 for the dwelling. So I guess there's actually a net decrease. And wait until the recommendations come out of the downtown revitalization plan for dealing with downtown parking needs.
So, I have a lot of questions, because there's already multiple uses in what seems like a very small space. So, is there gonna be a separate entrance? 647 square feet is a very, very small dwelling. So is this going to be rented as an Airbnb like this other one that we have down there, which I'm not really a fan of because it takes up storefront space? Like, is there gonna be storefront space that is taken away because of a dwelling being put in so that it can have a separate entrance? Or this is prime commercial space, and as like a downtown business owner, I can say that there is a very distinct lack of it, and taking away one particular office space that is possibly rentable. I know about 6 people right now that are looking for office spaces. Do we need a dwelling downtown, a dwelling above grade? Is this as a discretionary use and a mixed use in the shoreline commercial? I'm not a big fan of this proposal because it just it has implications that could run away on us, and especially doing our downtown revitalization. I know that that's really in its infancy, having participated in that, and there's a lot of discussion to be had about what is the character of the downtown that we want to see from a plan. So just kind of putting that out there.
We do have dwellings downtown that are being utilized, the upper halves, as individuals living there. And really, is it an issue because we've allowed security dwellings out in the, industrial ground. So if we say no here, what are we doing out there, right?
We can't look in the past though. Like, we have to look at what decisions we're making for the future.
We're still allowing security units being put on
That's not
out
this
there.
is.
If something's being built up there, we're going to allow them to have a security dwelling for security purposes. If there's something built up there,
There's nothing mentioned in the proposal about that we've gotten that it's for security. It's
this is a
rentable
person
dwelling.
living. Well, okay.
Just
Yeah.
to provide a distinction, there are 2 different types of dwellings that are considered discretionary uses in different categories. One's a caretaker dwelling unit, and that is in fact allowed in the M1 and M2 zoning categories. In this zoning category, a caretaker dwelling unit is not permitted. A caretaker dwelling unit takes the form of a mobile home or modular home, whereas this is a dwelling unit. It can be located within an existing building. Right. And it will have an entrance vis-a-vis a hallway it would share with one other business. But it has to be at or above grade, and this particular one is at the water side of the building.
Okay,
So the other businesses downtown with homes above their businesses, that's allowed?
Mm-hmm.
Under today's zoning, any of those lots that are in the C3,
Mm-hmm.
shoreline commercial, dwelling unit is a discretionary use that can be permitted by council.
And that's the thing, is what I'm putting out here is that by allowing dwellings to eat up our commercial spaces in the downtown commercial core, we are then taking away opportunity for businesses to locate down there and for more vibrant business to be happening down in the commercial district. So this is why the reason that I'm bringing it up is to like.
Yeah, and I'm not going against you, Abby. I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
see why others have been allowed, and then, that's all.
Like, I know which business it is, and I know that if that space isn't used for the residential portion, it won't be offered to public, so.
Well, think of this big black door, like there is another business in that block that has had a dwelling at or above grade permitted, and it's a blank 20-30 feet of commercial storefront. It's blank. It has no activity, and all it does is create a wider gap from business to business for people that, if we want the traveling public, if we want tourism, if we want to attract tourism downtown, do you think people are going to walk the entire 6 kilometers of our downtown? No, we need to create pockets of high density commercial activity. So if we don't keep that in mind when we make these kinds of decisions or have these discussions, which I'm not forgoing an opinion one way or the other, but like that is the first thing that came to my mind, is like, oh, another one at grade, another commercial business opportunity being taken away from, say, an artist who needs a less expensive, doesn't need a full window display storefront, but does want a commercial little gallery or something. Where do they go? So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll move to direct staff to initiate discretionary use public consultation process to allow the addition of a dwelling at or above grade. Lot 1, Block 18, Plan CR 3862. Hear what the neighbors have to say.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll second it. I'll go with Matt on this.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Okay, 9:10. Go ahead, tree thinning.
Yes, I can speak to this one. With a caveat, of course, from administration side, council had asked us to look at this issue after the last delegation at the last meeting, and look at some options potentially. Administration would stipulate, of course, that this is a societal issue and a bigger issue potentially than this particular request for decision will address or could address. But from our perspective, just on a high level, we looked at essentially getting a cost approximation based on for fuel management work that the fire department is involved in, based on approximate size again, and doing some work back there. We also looked at, given the thought that may not be effective on a global front, and that we also have security concerns that council has expressed in their strategic priorities in general, and the concern that the activity could move from place to place and thinning might have to continue on from place to place, that the only other option that we could think of that might be worth pursuing would be some form of in-staff security patrolling of the areas that we know are problematic. One, for cleanup, but two, to report those issues to different people, whether it be the school or the RCMP if needed in support. We have cancelled our enhanced policing because of the ineffectiveness of that initiative. So maybe this is a different way to approach it with some support that could be then directed around the community, from place to place that might be a problem area. So we looked at possibly like a half-time position during the months where it's more of an issue. And that because of the prominence of this occurring during school hours and the issue right around the school, that perhaps they would even entertain a partnership on that kind of a position. So that was the recommendation. It's from administration's perspective, we understand that either of these options might not be ideal, and an ideal solution may not even exist. But those are two options that we put forward for you.
I'd like to throw another option forward. As far as, like, I think this could actually be quite a good idea, Labs. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. Could help in different areas of community. As far as the tree thinning request, though, I would actually make a motion that administration engage with Northlands College on a partnership for a tree thinning program. I spoke to their manager of Tech and Trades, and they said they would be interested in putting on a chainsaw related course, and they could utilize that area. It would cost the town ratepayers nothing, and kind of wins all around, whereas we'd get that area thinned out for security and safety, also for the Fire Smart type initiative. But then the college gets to put on a course, and then a bunch of individuals are going to get trained out of the deal too, so it's kind of wins all around. And they did say they would be very interested in doing something like that. So
what would be the time frame on anything actually happening in regards to that program?
well, we'd have to get administration to enter into an agreement with the college first, but they've indicated they're interested in doing it. It would cost nothing to the town. Maybe it would happen this winter, I'm not sure. Those logistical things would have to be sorted out.
And I know I've been having some conversations with some of the people involved with the delegation, and they're prepared to put a work fee out, and as long as they have permission to thin out the trees. I don't know what the feeling of council is on that.
That was a motion too.
Pardon me?
That was a motion.
Did you put out? You didn't have a seconder yet.
For the sake of the debate, I'll second the motion. I don't think it's a bad idea. Do you mind if I speak
Yes.
to the motion on the floor then? I don't think it's a bad idea. I think that we need to look at a lot of those kinds of things of partnering with our regional college, because they do a lot of the tech and trades programs, and I think that there's a lot of things that we can do from basic mechanic services that we have here when they put on their mechanics courses. We've got lots of different things that we can do with them, and I think that's an awesome opportunity to explore for anything that we have in the municipality. And the only problem I have with the motion, and the reason why I voted against it, is because the motion specifically states to enter an agreement. We haven't seen an agreement yet, so we don't know what it is. And I don't want to give a blanket approval.
To create an agreement or to enter into negotiations. We would need as a council to approve that agreement. But.
Councilor Bader?
Actually, yeah, I do like the idea of the tech trade idea. It's nice that the residents are looking at going out there and getting it done, but I think if we get some education involved in this, and it's free and nobody's gonna get hurt because they're being, these people are trained to do it properly. Not saying that they're not trained properly necessarily, but I think it's a great idea as well.
No, I'm not opposed to the idea. I'm just wondering about the time frame of it, and it's going to go into 23, and the people of the school want to have an improvement in the area sooner than that. I'm just thinking.
Well, yeah, even by the looks of it, this is in the 2023 operating budget, so it won't get done until next year. Anyways, if we went with option A, so I think we're pretty much, 2023 it is, right?
But if we had a work be done this fall, it would happen prior to 2023. There'd be no money to exchange hands, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, from administration's perspective, we'd be happy to pursue whichever option council looks at. They might not even necessarily be mutually exclusive. We might be able to do both. I think a work bee, the thought that a work bee could clear that whole area might be a little optimistic anyway. So then maybe they can focus on areas closer to the school, and then the thicker areas, maybe we could pursue the other option. So we'd be open to both.
And if this works well, maybe we can use it again in other areas of town later on.
Yeah, I'm thinking, you know, if the work bee comes forward, with what they'd like to do, and then, you know, administration goes to Northlands College, maybe we can come up with something that both can participate in as a community. So I think, you know, I like that idea. There's nothing wrong with the two groups working together.
I just wanna leave the door open, you know,
Yeah.
if they step forward, wanna do it, that they have permission to, you know, to thin it up. And I think if we can get a program with Northland, there's other areas as well, you know, or even finish up that area, you know. So I think they could both work together.
So,
Go ahead.
what's the plan? What is the plan? What plan does this go with? What plan states what we're gonna do with this chunk of land? Like, any of the options on the table have zero cogency with any plans that we have in existence and that we've adopted. So where's the plan? Where's the data to back up that any of the specific options put forward tonight will have any effect whatsoever on any effect to the positive of what we are wanting? If and when the behaviors are displaced, will we do this again the next time a delegate comes forward? Are we going to spend $30,000 or $40,000 every time we have a delegation come forward? How much are we willing to spend before we actually realize how ineffective we look when we're approaching it this way? Why don't we do what they did under a bridge somewhere and just put in a noise machine? That's got to be cheaper, because they deterred the houseless and negative social behaviors by putting in a noise machine under a bridge. Why can't we actually just look at this bigger picture, longer term, better investment? And a suggestion from a resident was, why can't this be a park? Why can't we actually develop it as a park in a cogent manner that meets goals within our plans, instead of throwing $30,000 or $40,000 at a problem that's not going to go anywhere?
I proposed an idea that wouldn't cost us any money.
Potentially, but potentially not.
No, it would cost us some money.
I think the important thing is the school has difficulty supervising that area because the underbrush is so thick. And they've come to the town to see what can be done.
The school did not come to the town. 2 residents came to town
Well, okay.
with a delegation.
They're
There was,
involved with the
I've
school.
seen 0 correspondence from Northern Lights School Division.
Well, they're employed there, I mean, I don't know if you.
But they both were very explicit in their delegation, saying that they were coming there as residents. They were very explicit. So every time
So
two
you're saying there
residents-
wasn't a problem, they overreacted?
I'm not judging what they have brought forward. I am judging from the perspective of being a keeper of the public purse. Is this an action we are going to take if we do this and spend $30,000 or $40,000 the next time we have 2 residents with a concern that is similar, or about a wooded area in our municipality? Is this the exact same action we are willing to take every time? Because I can think of about 6 different areas that people will be coming to council to discuss if that is the case. And until we have a plan in place with a bit of a strategy, if this is the direction we want to go by thinning or partnering, I'm not prepared to move forward on any recommendation.
What we've got on the table is 2 options. We've got one
3.
option for a cutting program, which Matt brought up, which I think is a great idea. We also have people willing to step up and do it at no cost to the town. Those concerned citizens that were here are prepared to take take on the responsibility of trying to make things better in that area, so for the safety of the kids.
How, will that be effective? How do we know it will be effective? What safety, how are we proving that this is going to improve safety for children by thinning some trees? What data do we have to back up our decision in spending
You can
tens
see
of thousands of
through-
dollars?
You can see when you don't have underbrush.
You can see
tell
somebody
a lot.
overdosing there, or you can't see somebody overdosing there. It is not gonna change the behavior that's happening there. Unless you can show me data otherwise. I see people downtown all the time consuming things. So, in that effect, I just want to, if anybody has any information to provide that is convincing, I'm willing to listen.
Right, Councilor Frederick?
Yeah, we have no data at this time, but this is how data is collected by actually investing money. Abby, you gotta invest money to collect
Okay, then
data.
let's,
It's-
I would be willing
it's
to invest money
impossible.
in collecting
Can-
data
Can I
about.
speak, Counselor Bashara? Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay, one at a time now.
Yeah, thanks. You know, this is the way we're gonna get our data. I think it's important with the students. I would like the school, the NLSD, to talk to the provincial government about getting funds for security, because we do have an issue within the community. And if that means having security at our high school, then that's what it boils down to, right? Like, we can't be fully responsible for what these kids are doing, but if we can do this, and Matt brought up a great idea, you brought up a great idea, two communities coming together and doing some work at no cost. So really, gathering the data is costing us $0, other than these people's time that they said they'd give us.
Point of interest, do either of these options put forward include gathering data?
Well, the option was security, they'd be able to log what they see, and so then we would have stats and information at least. So I guess to some extent, yes.
But it's not core to,
That's not the only purpose, the intent would be clean up, help deter the behavior, but also log it and have records. Just another point for council, like, I understand the perspective and we share it, which is why we, to some extent, which is why we're on the fence with the recommendation with regards to the behavior moving and having to thin other areas out. I guess the only issue from my perspective that's a little different with this, and again, doesn't mean the activity will disappear, I agree with that as well. But I do look at that because there is a bike park there and a rec facility that essentially is a park, even though it's a forested area, just like downtown. So I agree that it is a park, so if this will help maintain it and make it safer, I would be supportive. But that was where our comment came from and why we recommended the other option is, but we have this problem in all of our parks to some level or another, right?
Yeah.
Can I ask that you separate the two issues for now? Mayor, the first one being entering into an agreement of some sort with the college to do a thinning program, and then come back around to this security idea as a separate topic.
Okay, so your motion was for entering in the program for the thinning, it had nothing to do with the security.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's two separate issues, or two separate ideas.
can you clarify the wording of the motion?
That administration enter into or administration design an agreement with Northlands College, manager of tech and trades, to potentially do some tree thinning in the area.
Would enter into discussion.
Sure,
That'd be good.
that works.
And I'll second that.
Just to clarify, if there's any parameters, I'd be happy to hear them. If it's free and the area in question can be thinned, is there a reason why you would want it to come back? Is there something particular that you're looking for? Because you can either direct us to negotiate an agreement, or you can direct us to enter into an agreement, provided that it's at no cost to the town. Those would be the
that's
two options.
probably,
Originally, I was saying enter into an agreement, but because of Councillor McPhail's concerns. I thought maybe bring that back. Unless you have different ideas around the table.
Council Better.
I'm in favor. If it's free, then you guys can, that's part of your guys' job is, you know, making sure it gets done. But if it's not free, it should come back to the table and then we can discuss if council's all right with that.
Thank you. I guess we could word a motion to kind of cover that, you know, not necessarily, it could encompass both, that we can come up with a program or get the job done at no cost to the town, and, or little cost, and instruct administration to just.
Yeah, if you just tag the stipulation on that, on the end, then we would have to come back if it was anything but free. But if Councilman Fail has another concern that he wants us to address during the negotiation, we could also look at that.
The only other outstanding, there's two, like the problem with having option C presented with no oversight from administration. The other thing I also see is potential liability. If we approve people working on our areas and they're being trained by professionals, then most of the education side's liability is there. But now someone trips, falls on a needle that might be in the area, like there's liability in that area that we're allowing people to go into. Does the town still assume that liability? Although it's no cost to us, if the worst should happen, are we liable? Because we've approved them into our properties to do so. That's something that I would want to know before we enter into any agreement, is the discussion of liability.
We have a lot bigger liabilities with a great big hole in the road down here.
No, separate and apart from what we're currently discussing. The other thing that I've also noticed through the discussion here is we have an attached file right in our documents here of a fuel management plan from the fire department. 23.3 hectares of trees that are being cleared, and if we can find a way to either increase the scope of what might be phase 2 and phase 3 by involving the college, I would much rather see them working in areas where they actually need to thin it for the overarching safety of our community, rather than a bluff of trees behind the Uniplex. That's where, if we're going to develop a plan, that's where I'd like to see it. If we're actually going to go through the administrative headache of contracting and doing those kinds of things, I'd like it to be in consultation with our fire department on tree thinning specifically to areas that need to be thinned. And if this has not been identified,
we asked them at the last meeting about that, and they said that wasn't an identified area.
Yeah.
right. And that's why I'm saying, if this is not an identified area, we have the map of the identified area, and that's what I was going to say, is that if we're going to go into a contract with them, I wouldn't want to see it being utilized to the Uniplex. I would want to see if that plan is going forward of actually looking at a partnership with Northlands College, that it's done in consultation with our fire management plan, that we expand the scope of that and say we'll deal with our own non-identified areas for safety through fire, and put this into an area where we can actually use it for overarching community safety. If we're looking at a partnership like that, I think it's a great idea. I just think it's misdirected.
Or start with this and see where it goes. If it works well, we can do it in different areas too in the future.
That's a better.
I was actually just going to say the same thing, Matt. Like, I think it would be great to start over here. This contract, you know, I don't know if we want to say contract or anything. This is going to be work on a certain area, and when it's done, it's done. If we want to continue on in other areas, then fine, we could extend it. But I think this is really important for the community, for the school, that we take care of this area back here right away and see if it helps, right? And if it doesn't, then we'll have to move on to other tactics.
Why don't we say direct administration to enter into discussions with Northlands College Manager of Tech and Trades and report back findings at the next council meeting.
Okay, I'll be fine with that. I'll second that.
Is that acceptable a couple weeks now?
There's a motion on the floor, so we either need to withdraw the motion or defeat it or friendly amendment or something of that nature.
So I'll amend the original motion to read that council direct administration to enter into discussions with Northlands College Manager of Tech and Trades to provide options for tree thinning in the area prescribed and report back to council at next meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay. Further discussion?
And the area prescribed is the one behind the Uniplex.
Yes.
Mhm.
Call the question? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carried.
And you'd asked that it be split, so you still wanna have a discussion on security?
On a security option, yeah, so could this individual could he be down, or she be down in the parks, moving people out that are being intoxicated and that type of thing as well, and like all over town?
Yeah, the intent would be to use it, well, I mean, there's various options, but for example, we could integrate it either into all of the operators, and that would just give them a resource so they could basically go on a rotational inspection of those sites, and either if it's a matter they can deal with, that they're comfortable with dealing with, or whether in the case where they need support from the RCMP, then they can do it. But the reality is, if we're relying on the RCMP to patrol all these areas, that's just not seeming to be the priority issue. And there's a lot of frustration with staff on even when they contact RCMP at times.
Okay, Councilor Gregory?
Yeah, and what the RCMP tend to do when they go down into the park is if somebody's drinking, they take their alcohol and they just dump it out in front of them. And that's about the extent of it. I know you're not supposed to be drunk in public, but it's a lot of paperwork for them. So, you know, our security could say, okay, RCMP, I have somebody here, and they'll go and dump the booze, of course, but they'll be allowed to carry on. Would be my concern. And honestly, I go down into Patterson Park about every 1 or 2 days, and there's of course people around there, but I've never been bothered. You know, I had a couple come up and ask me for a ride, and I said, yeah, sure, cool, but I don't know.
And
I use that park, so I don't know.
I think, you know, this is a separate matter which ties into the advocacy section of our strategic priorities, but, you know, the conversation between the RCMP and council about what is the expectation from council in terms of, one, their priorities, but also how to handle that, because if they're just gonna come and confiscate items and let them wander around intoxicated or have sex in the park or do all the other things as soon as they leave, that's not making those places safe or attractive for our community to use.
Yeah.
So that's where this, I'm at a loss, to be honest, but I mean, this is the only option we could think of was, well, at least we could help report to the RCMP where these things are happening right away. And obviously the school has a similar concern where they're running around on the perimeters of their land trying to make sure students are in class or not doing anything that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I think that would be up to the school to provide security for that part.
And you mentioned some sort of a potential partnership with the school on a position like this? Was there any discussions with that, or just the idea?
Only bit like very preliminary off the cuff discussion about that they had looked at it themselves and not pursued it at this time, but that might have been because of the cost and bearing the cost alone. If there was opportunity to even fund a third of a half-time position, maybe that's something they'd be more appetite to look at. I don't know.
So is this something that's gonna come up with the Downtown Revitalization Committee in terms of
Yes.
how
Yeah.
to
There's
utilize something like that, or?
And that's part of the, like, where administration's a bit stuck too, is we've been kind of waiting for this process to unfold, and it will be soon, but where there'd be recommendations that might come out of that. Now, this security option also could be something that could be deferred to budget discussion, because it would be a budget thing for next year. So it's not something council has to approve tonight even necessarily, but it was, we appreciate that there's an issue with security and a frustration around it, community-wide, not just in behind the rec center. So that's where, that's all we can provide
So because it will be, or it could be a budget discussion for next year, can you maybe seek some more information about potential partnerships and what that would all entail and what that person would be able to do, and also consulting, I guess, with the community revitalization group, and see what they have thoughts on?
Yeah, our intent would be that if council is at least comfortable with us exploring it, then we could do that sort of thing. We just didn't want to chase our tails if it was an option council wasn't interested in.
I think, I think it's gotta be a broader discussion before, we make any commitments to doing it. It's, it's gotta be something that's well thought out and it's gotta, it's gotta have a buy-in
Well, and I completely agree with Councillor Bashir about collecting data and getting that going, because that's what should be done.
If, so, the resource implications of this bigger discussion that we're having is quite great, because $30,000 might pay us a part-time salary, pittance of a part-time salary for what we're potentially asking that person to do. Does that also include the training? Does it also include the equipping? Does it also include the additional staffing that it would require to be able to achieve the results that I think everybody's trying to get to? There's a lot bigger, it's a wicked issue. It's a wicked problem that is not easily solved and has to have a bigger outlook, a bigger discussion, a plan in place to be able to attack it holistically, and it requires more than just throwing a security guard or a commissioner at it. And if we throw a commissioner into the wooded area, but then ask them to also look at Patterson Park and look at Reese Park and look at Fitz Park and look at this and respond to that, we've got a full-time position on our hands with benefits, vehicle, training, so on and so forth. Right now, the tools we have in our toolbox include policies that should be directing all management in making decisions about improvements, capital, and some of the operational stuff is to apply crime prevention through environmental design, otherwise known as CEPTED. So I believe our OCP has, should have policies that include that, which is, it requires training. So all of our staff should be, at management level, should be having CEPTED training to some degree. And it's actually quite a great course to be able to help frame how we design our public spaces and how we treat the public spaces to make them safer, just by design. And those are the things that are really good investments. If we do an audit on a space and it suggests that there should be a little more lighting in this way and a little more openness this way, sight lines, so on and so forth. We should be doing that. We have these tools in our toolbox, but we're not using them as a council. And directing our administration to pursue that a little bit harder. Instead, we're just wanting to slap band-aids on things to appease people that have valid concerns, but we look ineffective by trying to constantly throw things at a problem that is much bigger and much more complex than the solutions we are offering. And as a council member, I would like to, as a group, participate in activities that actually get towards and work towards solutions. I know how long it's going to take. It's not going to be piecemeal and isolated actions that actually address the issues that we have brought to us. And these individual concerns are valid, they're heard. But we need to make sure that when we are using our limited resources, which are going to be quickly drawn out by other projects that we have already committed to, let's find the ways to use those resources efficiently and effectively.
And that gets us right back to the program at Northlands College. No cost.
But it has no plan.
But it's got a benefit. It has benefit in the fact that you're going to have
You don't need, I'm not convinced one way or the other, by continuing to discuss it. Like, do we have a motion on the table or?
No.
Okay, then I will move to proceed with option C.
Oh, this is security.
Pardon me while I look at the,
Option C says do nothing.
yes,
No, we-
I will move to
No, we've
proceed.
got a decision already made on the pre-cutting.
We were talking about security.
That's,
What are you talking about, security?
I mean, if no one makes a motion, then that's option C
Well-
essentially, so. Or you defeat
think-
one of the other ones, that's really how to proceed, like in terms of, we've heard some concerns if you wanna defer the discussion to budget time and we can take action from the motion that was approved. That would be the interim, but we haven't heard about the volunteer question, I don't believe that was clarified yet.
But you're gonna check in with, we made a motion with Matt made a motion to connect with Northlands College.
Correct.
And so we're gonna do that route, so we gotta just defeat this one then.
You don't have to make a
Yeah.
motion, you don't have to do anything with that regard.
I will make a motion to direct administration to explore options and potential partnerships around a security program.
What's the timeframe for the revitalization process?
February.
February?
They wanna have a plan by February, but I don't know how realistic that is.
They're contractually obligated, so.
Contractually obligated? Oh, well, if that's the.
Now, unless
Steering committee
unless we
says
slow
it's-
it down, but I'm hopeful that that plan will come and play, but again, recommendations and issues, the issues aren't likely to change, but if there are some creative solutions from that group, and design, to Councilor Bashara's comments, design is certainly an issue, and that's where we have obviously multiple sites of parks and rec facilities where these kind of design principles would need to be implemented at a cost. They would be similar to the things we're discussing, lighting, thinning, security cameras, other issues. Administration is hesitant to make any recommendations on this site because we haven't decided how to proceed with the rec center issue, which is a bigger issue, and if we're gonna do big things there, there's no point in spending a little bit of money to do something small.
I kinda agree with Councilor Bashar that 30,000 doesn't go very far, and you know, that doesn't take into account how are they gonna get there, you know.
But it's a lot of money out of the public purse.
No, it is, I'm
For-
just saying
for
that
what?
that's not all inclusive, there's other costs that, like, what vehicle they're gonna use,
Mhm.
you know, those kinds of things that.
That's why I moved to
Yeah.
direct
So,
administration to explore options so that we could get some
Yeah,
pricing and some
no, that's a good
some
idea.
valid
Let's
details.
pursue it a little bit wider and deeper and I just don't wanna just throw money at something that's not good.
No, and I'm not saying throw any money at it at all, I'm just saying bring information back.
So we're still on 9:10?
Well, I could make a motion to enter into camera.
Okay, we're done with that?
I'll second that.
There's
There's one,
Oh,
There's
is there one more?
9:10 though,
There's a
right?
motion
Is there
on.
one?
well,
there's one more question.
I believe Matt has a motion on the floor, so that either
Oh,
needs to be seconded.
With the
or-
security.
To direct administration to explore options and potential partnerships around a security program and report back to council.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, we'll target budget discussion. It seems like a time where we could have a good discussion about.
Okay,
I'll move to enter into camera, please.
there's just one more thing, there, the group that were gonna volunteer to do cutting, are they gonna be allowed to participate in that if they chose?
I mean, I haven't have any direction on it, but if they want to forward me
If they
their
propose
interest,
something to you, I guess.
yeah, just forward me their contact information, and then if it does work in coordination with something that we can put together, then we will.
liability waiver forms, of course.
Yeah, I mean, liabilities, like, with it, whether it be a contractor or a volunteer group or the college, it's always an issue that we have to address. We need a plan, so.
Yeah.
But we will bring something back and then council can decide how to proceed.
We've got a real hefty indemnification clause we've included in agreements.
Yeah, even the ski club, if you wanna go and clear their trails with them to operate a chainsaw, you have to have your certificate. Either that or else you're just picking up branches. It doesn't matter if you've been operating them for 30 years, so I like that.
Okay, motion to go on camera,
I move.
seconder,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Is there video feed off?
No.
It's a good evening.
You as
Good
well.
night.
Take care.
See ya.
Yeah, okay.